They were the undisputed rulers of our planet. For over 150 million years, they dominated every continent, every ecosystem. They were the dinosaurs. Our story begins 66 million years in the past, in a world that would be almost unrecognizable to us today. A world teeming with life on a colossal scale. This was the late Cretaceous period, a time of warmth and abundance. The air was rich with oxygen, fueling the growth of immense forests and the giants who fed upon them. Herbivores like the Edmontosaurus had evolved highly sophisticated methods for consuming the tough vegetation, processing hundreds of pounds of food each day. But where there is prey, there is always a predator. And in this world, the apex predator was a name that would echo through millennia. Tyrannosaurus rex, a creature of immense power. T-Rex was not a lumbering scavenger. It was an active, fearsome hunter, capable of incredible bursts of speed, but the prey was not defenseless. The Triceratops, a living fortress, presented a formidable challenge to any attacker with its 3 deadly horns and powerful shield-like frill. The relationship between hunter and hunted was an ancient arms race, a violent ballet of survival that had played out for millions of years. Others, like the armored Ankylosaurus, relied on an almost impenetrable defense, a living tank with a bone-shattering club for a tail. The skies were not empty. They were the domain of the pterosaurs, flying reptiles, some of whom achieved sizes unparalleled by any flying creature since. And beneath the waves, the oceans were home to their own leviathans. Creatures like the Mosasaurus, the T-Rex of the deep. Life was not just about violence. It was about continuity. Dinosaurs exhibited complex social behaviors, nesting in colonies and caring for their young. The cycle of life and death was constant. A new generation was always ready to take the place of the old. This world seemed eternal, indestructible, but far, far away, in the cold, silent vacuum of space, an ancient wanderer had a destiny with Earth. It was a piece of rock, born from the chaos of the solar system's formation billions of years earlier. A remnant of cosmic creation, now set on a path of planetary destruction. For millions of years, it had traveled the solar system. Its orbit, perturbed by the gravitational pull of giant planets, had slowly shifted until it intersected with Earth's on Earth. It was just another day. The 150 million year reign of the dinosaurs was nearing its end, and they had no idea. Hiding in the shadows of this giant's world were our own distant ancestors, small, nocturnal mammals, surviving by being unnoticed. Their time had not yet come. The cosmic projectile was now in the final leg of its journey, covering millions of miles every day. It crossed the orbit of the moon. The point of no return had been passed long ago. The impact was now inevitable. The last days of the dinosaurs were like any other. Life was a tapestry of eating, sleeping, hunting, and surviving. Up in the night sky, a new object began to shine. To any creature that might look up, it was just a new point of light. A curiosity, nothing more. But night by night, it grew brighter, faster than any star or planet should. This was the harbinger of doom, an angel of death disguised as light. This was the last sunrise they would ever see. The final hours of the Mesozoic era, traveling at over 72,000 kilometers per hour, 45,000 miles per hour. The asteroid was now just minutes away. The first to witness the arrival were the inhabitants of the sky. A brilliant flash growing with terrifying speed, it struck the Earth's atmosphere. In an instant, the friction of the air heated the rock to a temperature hotter than the surface of the sun. On the ground, day turned to an unnatural, searing brightness. All shadows vanished. Every creature was frozen, staring at the descending god of fire. The point of impact, a shallow sea covering what is now the Yucatan Peninsula. The time was spring. The date, 66 million years ago. The moment of impact defies comprehension. An explosion with the energy of more than 100 trillion tons of TNT, or 1 billion of the most powerful nuclear bombs ever created. The asteroid and the ground it struck did not shatter. They ceased to exist, vaporized into superheated plasma in less than a second. In a heartbeat, the Earth's crust was peeled back, creating a transient crater dozens of miles deep, wider than the distance from the ground to the edge of space. Trillions of tons of pulverized and molten rock were ejected, hurled up and out of the atmosphere on a ballistic trajectory. The impact generated the largest earthquake in the planet's history. A seismic shockwave of magnitude 11, shaking the entire globe. For life near ground zero, the end was instantaneous. A thermal flash, an invisible wave of heat, incinerated everything for 1,000 miles in every direction. Next came the sound. A blast wave so powerful it traveled at supersonic speeds, a physical wall of pressure that could pulp organs and flatten entire forests. Nothing could withstand it. This was not wind. It was the raw, physical force of the explosion itself, sweeping across the continent. The physics of the impact were awesome and terrible. The very ground, behaving like fluid, rebounded to form a central peak before collapsing outwards into a telltale peak ring crater. The ocean, held back for a few minutes by the force of the blast, now began its catastrophic return. Cataclysm on top of a cataclysm. Seawater meeting molten rock generated steam explosions that added even more debris to the sky. This turmoil created a wave of biblical proportions. A mega tsunami, thousands of feet high, radiating across the Gulf of Mexico, was a force of nature unlike anything the planet had seen before or since, a truly global tsunami. But the immediate blast was only the beginning. The greatest killer was yet to come. The ejected rock, now far above the atmosphere, began its fiery descent, as these tiny droplets of glass and rock, called spherules, rained back down through the air. They heated up, just as the asteroid. Around the world, the sky began to turn red, not with light, but with heat. The entire sky effectively became a broiler oven, a radiant heat source pointing down at the surface of the planet. For any dinosaur caught in the open, there was no escape. The very air was becoming deadly hot. The intense infrared radiation from the sky started to cook the planet. Temperatures on the ground soared and dry vegetation reached its flashpoint. Global firestorms ignited. The world's forests began to burn all at once. Survival became a matter of minutes. Shelter from the heat was the only hope, but there was little to be found. Only those who could get underground or underwater had any chance of surviving this initial thermal pulse. Meanwhile, the mega tsunami made landfall. A wall of water, moving at hundreds of miles per hour, slammed into the coastline of North America. It didn't just break on the shore, it washed inland for hundreds of miles, a churning, destructive flood that left nothing in its wake. The planetary trauma was absolute. The seismic shock waves are thought to have triggered volcanic eruptions across the globe, adding more ash and poison to the air. The dinosaurs, the rulers of this world, were now facing an enemy they could not fight, an apocalypse on a scale they could not comprehend. The sky, once their kingdom, was now a furnace. The masters of the air were no exception to the extinction event. In the oceans, life was not safe. The thermal pulse heated the surface layers, while acid rain, a byproduct of the impact, began to poison the water. The first phase, the phase of fire and heat, was ending. It was being replaced by a new, more insidious killer: darkness. The soot from the burning world and the dust from the pulverized asteroid created a thick blanket in the atmosphere, blocking the light of the sun. An impact winter had begun. For the survivors of the initial blast and firestorm, the true test had just started. With the sun's warmth cut off, global temperatures crashed. A world that was once a greenhouse became an icebox. the foundation of the entire food chain was photosynthesis. With no sunlight, plants could no longer produce energy. They began to die on a planetary scale. The great herbivores, creatures that needed to consume immense quantities of plants daily, were the first of the dinosaurs to face starvation. Within weeks, the largest animals on the planet were starving to death. Their size, once their greatest asset, was now their fatal flaw. The air itself was poison. The impact had vaporized sulfur-rich rocks, creating clouds of sulfuric acid. The rain that fell was corrosive and deadly. Freshwater sources were contaminated. Even a simple drink of water could be lethal. There was truly no safe place left on Earth. The carnivores soon followed the herbivores into oblivion. Once the supply of fresh meat was gone, they too began to starve in the cold and the dark. The king of the dinosaurs died not in a great battle, but in the silent, cold dark, a victim of a war against physics and chemistry. The catastrophe was just as complete in the oceans. The collapse of plankton, the base of the marine food web, spelled doom for the giant marine reptiles. But life is resilient. The survivors were those who were small, adaptable, and could find food in the wreckage of the old world. Mammals living in burrows had a crucial advantage. Other survivors included creatures like crocodiles and turtles, whose slow metabolisms and aquatic lifestyles offered them a degree of protection. For months, possibly years, the darkness continued. It was a long, terrible night for planet Earth. 75% of all species on the planet would be wiped out, but slowly, inevitably, the planet began to heal. The dust settled, and the sun returned. The first life to return in force were the ferns, hardy, opportunistic plants that colonized the devastated landscape in what scientists call a fern spike. The world was alive again, but it was quiet. The thunderous footsteps of the giant dinosaurs were gone, forever silenced. With the dinosaurs gone, the world was open for new rulers. The age of reptiles was over. The age of mammals was about to begin. The survivors of the apocalypse found themselves in a world of opportunity, with ecological niches left vacant by the mass extinction. In the millions of years that followed, our ancestors flourished. They diversified into the vast array of mammalian life we see today, from bats to whales, from primates to people. But not all dinosaurs were wiped out. One small feathered branch not only survived, they thrived. We still see the legacy of the dinosaurs every day. They are all around us. We call them birds. The death of the dinosaurs was not just an end. It was a violent, catastrophic beginning. The apocalypse that cleared the way for our own existence. A stark reminder that life on Earth is defined by change, and that even the mightiest rulers can fall from the sky. We know this story not from myth, but from evidence written in the very rocks of our planet. A thin layer of clay found all over the world marks the tombstone of the Cretaceous period. This is the KPG boundary. Below it, dinosaur fossils are abundant. Above it, they are gone. And within this layer lies the murder weapon. High concentrations of iridium, an element rare on Earth but common in asteroids. The iridium spike is the global fingerprint of the killer, a signature left behind by the vaporized asteroid. For decades, the impact crater was missing, but we found it. Buried beneath the limestone of the Yucatan Peninsula, the Chicxulub crater, the ground zero of the apocalypse. In the final moments of their world, life continued in all its intricate detail. The complex dance of predator and prey was utterly unaware of the cosmic timeline it was on. These were not mindless beasts. They were highly evolved, successful animals. Some, like the troodontids and dromaeosaurs, possessed large brains and keen senses. Had the asteroid missed, could this intelligence have evolved further? It is a question we can never answer. But the asteroid did not miss, and in a fraction of a second, 150 million years of evolutionary potential was erased. The violence of the impact was not just superficial. It shook the planet to its very core, a blow that altered the geology of an entire continent. There is strong evidence to suggest the impact exacerbated one of the largest volcanic events in history, the Deccan Trap's flood basalts, releasing climate-altering gases for thousands of years. The dinosaurs were caught in a 1-2 punch, a planetary-scale assault from above and from within the Earth itself. The ocean acidification was one of the most devastating kill mechanisms. Creatures with shells made of calcium carbonate simply dissolved. The base of the food chain vanished. For the great marine reptiles, it was a death sentence. Their world died from the bottom up. Entire, successful groups of animals, like the ammonites that had thrived for hundreds of millions of years, were wiped out completely. The impact winter was brutal. Without sunlight, temperatures over. Land may have dropped by an average of 25 degrees Celsius or 45 degrees Fahrenheit. No large land animal could survive this. Anything over 25 kilograms, or about 55 pounds, was doomed. Their reign was over. A dynasty of giants, brought to its knees by a 6-mile-wide rock. The planet that emerged from the long winter was a blank slate, the extinction event. For all its horror was also a moment of planetary reset. For our ancestors, it was a world of breathtaking opportunity. They were no longer constrained to the night, no longer living in fear. In the vacuum left by the dinosaurs, mammals exploded in a riot of evolutionary creativity. Among them, a group of clever, adaptable creatures took to the trees, the hominid primates. Our own story had begun. The path from this small survivor to us was long and complex, but it was a path made possible only by the cataclysm of the KPG extinction. Every aspect of our modern world is a direct consequence of that. The existence of large mammals, the evolution of grasses, the very shape of the continents was influenced by this event. And in the sky above our cities, on every street corner, we can see the direct descendants of the dinosaurs themselves. Every bird, from the hummingbird to the ostrich, is a living dinosaur. The theropod lineage survived. It serves as a profound cosmic lesson. Extinction is the norm in the universe. Planets can die. The survival of life is not guaranteed. Our own intelligent civilization exists because of a random, violent, cosmic accident. The dinosaurs are a testament to the power and majesty of life, but also to its fragility. They remind us that on Earth, no reign is forever. To understand the sheer scale of the loss, we must first appreciate the depth of their success. A dynasty that lasted 3 times longer than the time that has passed since their extinction.